Okay, so I'm getting ready to go ahead and replace all the filters within my Veken cat water fountains here. So this is what I do once per week, typically every Friday and such. I've got 2 cats, so we have 2 fountains. It gets kind of mucky with a couple of them. So here's how I go ahead and take it apart. So I just take out the flowers, carefully lift the top plate. Same thing. Pulling it out here, and I just take the filters and I'll dispose those. Same thing, remove, remove. You're gonna find that it's kind of grimy and real nasty feeling at the very top here, and then just dump out whatever water you have inside here. The motors come out real simple, just pick them on up. There is the filter from it. We're going to get rid of that one. And then I'll typically just pull this straight through. We'll get those separated out. Same thing, pull it out. Get rid of that filter. Then pulling this straight through. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it usually in very, very hot water because I want to make sure that it's good and sterilized. I sometimes will take and put these inside the dishwasher, but I'll put them on the top rack. But I don't turn on any heating elements because it will warp the actual bowls themselves. So you can see where it has gone through in the heat cycle and kind of melted it. So you want to make sure that if you use a dishwasher, don't use the heat. So generally what I try to do is get it on in here, and I just take any old scrub brush. They've got some available online, I'm sure, that you can pick up, and I just scuff them up real good. There's one. I'm going to really get every little part of this. Wash it down. Remember, your pets are going to be drinking out of this, so you don't want to have any bacteria or grossness left over. Just about done. The hardest part comes up next, and it's when we're going to have to go through and get the motors taken apart. And I think this is probably the part that gets a lot of people confused, because they're not really sure where it comes apart. These parts are obviously much easier. Alright, get in there and really scrub the sides. I typically have found a lot of buildup on the sides more than anything, but obviously clean as much of this as you can, inside and out. Don't be surprised when you're going and cleaning it out, you'll probably find some bugs and various debris, sometimes cat food. You know your filter's doing a good job when it's keeping that stuff out of your cat's system. Alright, so here comes the tricky part. When you're doing the motor, you can separate it by doing this. You lift it off, it literally just pops off and on. Alright, so there's one part. The next part, you might need to grab some type of like needle nose pliers, or if you've got tiny fingers, you can probably go in and then just pull the little motor out. It's a little tiny thing like this. So again, I just take the motor, open it up this way, reach in, pull it straight out. It's magnetic, and you'll notice that right away as soon as they separate. So what I'll do is I'll take this and get just a small little bottle brush and get in between the little cog right here. And we're all set on that. Same thing. And then you're going to find with this one right here, you're going to definitely need to get yourself a good bottle brush again that you can reach on the inside, because it really gets mucked up on the inside. Now keep in mind this was just cleaned a week ago and it's already dirty. I'll leave that soak for just a minute. This one's not too bad, but it's still got a lot of gunk in the inside. The cleaner that you can get these, the better, because the motors aren't as loud. I find that when these aren't cleaned as well, the motors get really loud and persnickety. And then a lot of times people are really nervous about the wires and the water and such. I don't know what the magic is with this, but it's never caused any kind of electrocution. Just make sure you're not plugged in when you're cleaning this stuff. And I never fully submerge the entire cord here. What I will do is, the very first thing is I go through and I'll scuff up the actual cord that's usually submerged. So that way it's pulling off any of that extra debris. And then I'll just drop it in here. Grab a little bottle brush, just insert it into here, and then I'll go in where the casing is for the little cog that we pulled out there, a little magnetic cog. Not sure what the word is. But I'll just go through and I just scuff this thing up real good. And then when I feel like it's a pretty good job, just put it right up underneath there. Run pure hot water through that thing. There we go. One motor's done. I'm going to do the same thing. Again, let's get that cable, getting it inside the little casing here. And then pure hot water through there. Alrighty, almost done. Now we've got the filters, and it's a very good idea to make sure that you're thoroughly rinsing these out. So what I'll do is I'll just take it. You can sometimes take them and just soak them in like some water or something like that, but for the sake of this video and ease of things, I'm just going to kind of put it under here. I'm not worried about super hot water, just that they're getting thoroughly rinsed. Just squeezing them, making sure that they're ready to be used. These are going to go into the motors themselves. Alright, and then the filters, I typically will just take and just run it underneath the water. I don't think about it too long, I just kind of go put it underneath here and then just keep running it, making sure it's thoroughly saturated and rinsed out. Alright, which this is kind of nice because there's a full multi-pack that my wife and I typically buy. There's a bunch of them in here, so this is a 12-pack. It'll last us about a month and a half because we're doing typically two of these items per week because we're filling up each one of these, so 6 weeks worth of stuff. So, all right, now let's go ahead and put them all together now. We're going to go backwards on this one now. We've got the motor. We're going to drop that in place. It just snaps right in. Then we're going to take the covering, and again we're going to have this turned upside down. So you want to have it away from the chimney, not the other direction, right here. The black sponge filter is going to go right in here, but be very careful because they tend to be a little loose. And do the same thing. We're going to go through the same order. There's the motor, drop it straight in. It literally, it's magnetic and it just sucks right into there. Put the opening towards away from the little chimney here. And then we're going to toss in the little sponge. All right, now we've got the motors ready to rock and roll. So our very next step is actually going to be putting in the motors. And you're going to want the actual cable away from the backside because there's a little lip here. So you're not able to turn it around anywhere else. And not to mention the light actually radiates from here too as well. So I'm just going to go ahead, feed this through. And in theory, you're supposed to have it put right here, but obviously I told you it melted before. Not a big deal. It's been melted since day one when I had put it through a dishwasher and heat, but it works fine still. So we've got this set. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with the other one. We're going to grab the motor. Cable goes away from the backside. Then we take that cord and we just feed it through. Alrighty. Now all we got to do is fill it up with some water. So I'm sure I'll probably time lapse this, but I typically like to use filtered water that goes into here and keep it cold. Now as this water stays in here over the next couple of days, it actually starts to get pretty cold. It's pretty incredible. So don't worry about having like lukewarm water and your cat's being turned off to it, because it's gonna probably be just fine. All right, it's getting towards the top. We don't want to overfill this. This is plenty right here. I typically find that my cats have, no issue with this. All right, we've got one done. Same thing. Fill it up. Okay, that's good. Now comes the last and pretty easy steps here. So what we're going to do is one piece at a time. We're going to take the clear layer, make sure that the lip is going over top here so then it's not cutting into the cord. And then you're going to take your filter, flat part down, because then it's easy for you to go ahead and pick it up later on. That's going to end up flattening out here in just a second. Then I'm going to take the spill edges and I want to make sure that none of them are lying over top of where the cord's at, because obviously we want this to drain real well. So we're going to have that opposite there. And then we're going to put the flour right on top. Now you'll notice that it's missing the little blue cap here, because we just found that when we had that, it made a lot of extra noise. So if you hear that it's doing a lot of noise, just take them, toss them out. They're worthless. All right, we've got the one done. Let's do another one just as illustration here. Again, clear layer, lip right here, put it over top the cord. It won't dig into the cord, thankfully, as long as you have it positioned properly. Blue, parallel sides. You want to make sure it's not covering up over that little lip over here. Totally forgot. Let's get that filter thrown in there. And there we go. So the last thing we have to do at this point then is take it and plug it in. And there we go.